Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Dark Sage Walker, and today we are doing Wizard of Metal. And this week, the form that the Wizard of Metal is taking is that of Precious Jerusalem by Blind Guardian. Which, to be fair, I kind of had to tiebreaker that one on my own. Pardon me. And even though I didn't get many votes for that particular poll, I do again thank everyone for jumping in and doing their part, including explaining why they weren't too big on Wizard of Metal in the first place. And I think that deserves its own video response, but today we're just focusing on Precious Jerusalem, which, if the title didn't clue you in, has some very religious subtext. So, before we go too much further, let's explain the run. So, I went and checked out the history of the song and its meaning, and like I said, there's the obvious religious subtext, but sorry about that. There was one particularly interesting idea behind the meaning of the song that suggests that it's like an argument or like a struggle between the two sides of the coin. In this case, specifically, Jesus and Lucifer. So I decided to go with kind of an opposites theme and a sort of like light and dark. So demonic strength, holy energy, divine intervention, blast of darkness. And then, both sides are going to want to do the rule robe thing, and both sides are amongst a state of leadership. So, here you go. We're using the rule robe, but infusing it with shadow to kind of be a bit ambiguous. Also, the idea that I even have shadow is really interesting, so, loving it. And then Captain's Ring I've already explained. I don't really need to start anywhere particular, so we'll just go. Now, Blind Guardian themselves as a band is really interesting to me because I got introduced to them kind of late into the game and knew very little about them. All I knew is that they were a power metal band, like when I was first introduced to them. It wouldn't be until later that I discovered they're a German power metal band, which, again, if you think about some of these bands that I have interest in, you'll see an interesting parallel in the idea that they aren't the only German power metal band I listen to. There's also Orden Ogon, and for those of you who are about to say Rammstein, no, that is kind of a progressive industrial sound. It's not the same thing. So already there's a bit of a link up there with two bands that I really like. Might be back for either the Chocolate or the Surefire Rocket, but keep in mind I have 3 Arcana I need to build up, so I would rather wait and see what Iris has for sale. I don't even know why I'm trying to use the charge attack, it's not going to work. Could you guys go away now? Thank you. Also, thank you very much to the game for not reading my input there. Why am I even trying to charge it up? Every time I try, I just get hit, so... We're just gonna pretend like I don't have a charged hit for the axe. It would be nice to have one, but we can't use it. Okay, probably gonna ignore these two. Which means we are off to a bad start. No new Arcana, no Arcana upgrades. This might be a bit of a problematic run. Ah, Blind Guardian, I love you so much. Why do you do this to me? But the other thing that I noticed about Blind Guardian is that they're a much older band than I gave them credit for. Ooh, how do I want to do this? I think right now critical hit chance is going to trump anything else. Blind Guardian, unbeknownst to me, and this is where I start to pull up my notes, was originally founded in 1984 and was known as Lucifer's Heritage. That band was originally formed by Hansi Kirsch, and at the time he was their bass guitarist. They had a few other people who had, like, the lineup has definitely changed. Like, the band was formed in 1984 and didn't even have the name Blind Guardian at that point. Yeah, you can imagine that there would be some things that are going to change throughout the years. And it's not even just band members at that point. You're also talking about changes in their style. Like, to give you an idea, they started off as a very kind of thrash metal project based on, like, with a lot of heavy influence from the band Halloween. There's another name that you probably haven't heard in a while. Which, by the way, Halloween is also German. This is something I did not know. So I'm learning quite a bit about bands that I love by doing this, and that's another reason why I wanted to do this with metal. Because it deepens my understanding of my own interests, and that's always a good thing. Okay, so apparently this enemy can just hit me whenever he wants. Like I said, I have deep misgivings about this run. Like, I am very much unsure about this. So, yeah, there's a lot of history to get through, so... See, when they actually changed their name to Blind Guardian was around the year 1988 with their very first album release called Battalions of Fear. And since then, they've obviously gone on from being just straight up thrash to having a more kind of progressive metal sound with more orchestral influences. So yeah, definitely the band's gone through some shifts over time. Enough so that it created a rift between Hansi Kirsch and their original drummer. Let's see, where is his name? Yeah, Tolman Stausch. So he would leave the band after after the release of their, what a lot of people say is their best album, Nightfall in Middle-earth, which is it was originally a concept album based on J.R.R. Tolkien's, I believe it's called The Silmarillion, which I've never read, to be fair, but, I mean, it sounds interesting, and I'm definitely willing to look into it. But yeah, I have Nightfall in Middle-earth, and yes, it's a very good album. Like, I am definitely down for that action. But it was around that time that Toman Stausch said, oh, the band's direction is going in a direction that I'm not comfortable with, or it was more so a direction that he didn't like, so he would leave around 1998. I'd like to point out they still have new music coming out. This band is old, this band is influential. Like, this is one of the pioneers of power metal right here. But like I said, Nightfall in Middle-earth is where they started to kind of play around with new ideas, going with things that are more anthemic than just straight up guitar thrashing. Which, don't get me wrong, that's still there. So, I don't know, maybe Toman is just, I don't know, is it okay to admit that he might be a bit of a narcissist? Or like with most people, is it more so that he's just afraid of change? Which is a very understandable and reasonable thing. I can completely understand people being afraid of change. Being afraid of change is a very human thing, but I mean, the article that I read didn't get into that. It just said that it was, you know, musical disagreements, which, again, I get it. You're talking, like, one artist to another, so I completely understand why there'd be a little bit of, I don't know if I like this going on. The song that we're going to be analyzing... What are you doing out here? Get back in your corner! Yeah, I don't want that. But the song we're going to be analyzing today does not come from Nightfall in Middle-earth. It comes from the album titled A Night at the Opera. Which, real quick, I just want to... Where is it? Where is it? Alright, A Night at the Opera is the 7th studio album by the German power metal band Blind Guardian, surprise surprise, released in 2002. That album is named after the 1975 Queen album of the same name, so going further back with the influences. And even further back than that, the Queen album was named after the Marx Brothers film of the same name. So we're definitely digging deep into the kind of cultural pie here. Which, to be fair, I think the album was also named A Night at the Opera for the idea... Hold on. Oh, I'm a sleepy boy. It was also thus named for the idea that it's a... I'm gonna take this. For the idea that it's got a lot of very symphonic influences to it, so it sounds like a Night at the Opera, real frankly. Yay! I succeeded! And there goes the Idealist investment bonus. I didn't expect it to last that long, though. And that in and of itself should point out why it's always a good idea to have a signature that you can rely upon. Not a lot of good Arcana picks, or rather not a lot of good Arcana picks for the elemental choices. There we go. Not bad. Radiant beat, huh? I mean, it's not great, but I'll take it. Besides, that could also be seen as, like, you know, a holy sword. So, to be fair, there is a lot of history for Blind Guardian. And I've really only begun to scratch the surface, but if we don't want this video to be forever long, then I might have to save some of that history for another Blind Guardian Wizard of Metal album. I was gonna say album, but that's not right. Blind Guardian Wizard of Metal episode. And we should move on to discussing the lyrics, which, as I said, have an interesting amount of subtext to them. And I think the most interesting subtext that I found is the idea that it may very well be like a struggle between Satan and Jesus over the fate of humanity, and more specifically, the people living in Jerusalem. A complete miss. There we go. So, let's go ahead and pull up the lyrics for Precious Jerusalem, since that is what we're getting at here. So, I'm gonna get to that part in a bit. Alright, so let's actually go ahead and get into the lyrics of the song. Like I said, there will probably be future Blind Guardian albums where we can go further into the band's history. As of right now, I don't want this video to, run a super long time. Wizard of Metal episodes tend to already be long, and I don't want this to be a forever affair. So, the lyrics start, "No doubt, no longer need to hide it. I've found out who I am. I've moved around in circles. I rise and fall again. I know it well. Every word I tell seems to make no sense at all." So, to me, this is like Jesus himself discovering his heritage, supposedly. At least that's the way it sounds from the way I'm looking at it. Also, I just realized I'm running Captain's Ring. I probably should have taken one of those fire arcana. Now, I'm gonna get into the definition of the lyrics that I found earlier, and keep in mind it's not going to be like a one-for-one thing. Everyone's going to take this a little bit differently, hence why I tend to read the lyrics out rather slowly and blandly so that people can determine their own meaning behind things. As a thing, it's just as much a discussion as it is defining. Because when you're talking about art, there usually isn't just one straight-up definition. But anyway, next part of the lyrics. Words will heal it, love will conquer. The hearts of the hopeless, the Almighty is still alive. Give me that. So once again, that's kind of pointing out the idea of Jesus going, "Oh no, yeah, the Almighty is here. I am Him. You know, praise be." I believe this is the chorus. Rising up from the heart of the desert, risen up from the heart of the desert, risen up for Jerusalem, risen up from the heart of the desert, building up old Jerusalem. Risen up from the heart of the desert, risen up for Jerusalem, risen up from the heart of the desert, building up old Jerusalem. I've gone beyond, but there's no life, and there is nothing how it seems. I've gone beyond, but there's no life. There is no healing rain in Eden, the empty, barren, wasted paradise. Now, once again, that kind of plays into the idea that perhaps this is like a back and forth, struggle, argument, conversation with Jesus and Lucifer. And this is Lucifer saying, "Yeah, you're full of it," for lack of a better term. And again, that seems to make sense. I mean, they're not trying to agree with each other, so of course Lucy's gonna come in and be like, "You're full of it." None of these are great. And because I'm a little questioning of my build, I'm not sure I want the Paranamasakon. I'll think about it. Okay, I could use a good Water Arcana, and I could purchase this as kind of a lead into that, but it's also possible I'll never find a Water Arcana, so I don't necessarily want to waste the money. There we go. Idealist Vest is becoming more and more useless as time goes on. Alright, next part of the lyrics. Let's celebrate the dawning of the sun. I turn to you, O my precious Jerusalem. Deny your prophets their passion and treat them like fools. I turn to you, O my precious Jerusalem. Deny my love, but you can change fate. And then, Son of Man, you truly are mine. Oh, kinda wish I wasn't trying to rely on Idealist Vest. And I'm not, to be fair. This is Sparta! Like I said, I'm not trying to define what the lyrics mean yet because I found something that I think will help quite a bit. Next part. Can't stand the pain, no more grief and misery. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Now, that sounded really droning, but I guarantee it sounds better when put to actual musical accompaniment. Trust me on this, I'm a doctor, I know what I'm talking about. I don't know why I felt like doing that. I might come back for Explosive Charge. Oops, I made it stupid. Fairy. I need nothing else so long as I have Sylvan companions. Alright, moving on to the next part of the lyrics. Father, stop it now, we must stop it now. Then the next part. You really think you are halfway up? I would not mind if you were right, it's not sure. I'd rather say you are halfway down, so I'm going to help you if you can. Or if I can, I'm sorry. So, if you can kind of see the narrative playing out here, it's a very interesting way to look at the song. Again, I'm not 100% sure I buy it myself, the definition that I found, but again, I think it's very interesting. And we'll get into that in just a bit here. Gotta get through the lyrics first, though, like I said. Alright, so, next parts. I've been caught in wilderness I've got out well. I found myself in desert lands, but you've been on my mind. Now it comes back to, I turn to you, O my precious Jerusalem, deny your prophets their passion and treat them like fools. I turn to you, O my precious Jerusalem, deny my love, but you can change truth. So here's the next part, and another one of the parts that I thought was quite interesting. Rise up and follow me, because I will bring the light. Rise up and follow me, wake up and clear your mind. I try to bring it back, the seed of life. I try to bring it back, the seed of light. It sounds like Discord is having fun with me right now. So if you say there is no faith in man, you better keep in mind that I can read between the lines. My heavy burden brings eyesight to the blind. Then it's the I've been caught in wilderness part again. And then at the very end, which I suppose this is the chorus and not what I said earlier, I turn to you, O my precious Jerusalem, deny your prophets their passion and treat them like fools. I turn to you, O my precious Jerusalem, deny my love, but you can change me. And of course, as we all know by the end of that story, yeah, they did change me. So that's the lyrics of the song, and like I said, I say them very deadpan to make sure that you understand the words and can formulate your own meaning behind them. But that certainly doesn't mean that they are as bland as I present them to be. I will take explosive charge, by the way. This would be a great time to have the Ring of Reserves. And Infinity Marble's doing work. Hey, Nocturne. You know what? I can give him the explosive charge and see if he's willing to give me anything more interesting. I mean, not incredibly. There are two things here I like. I like the Water Dragons, and I like the Sonic Breakers. Sonic Breakers, unfortunately, not really great for this build, as this is a power build. But it's something, and I'm certainly not going to turn it down. There we go. Anchor of Burden. Yeah, whatever. Give it. I'll use it. And they are going to be resistant to most of my attacks, unfortunately. Yeah, I made another stupid. Oh yeah, this is going real well. Yay, getting my ass kicked hard. So there's a lot of things about this run that are suboptimal that I'm just trying to ignore, but yeah, certain things are just putting a band-aid on the wound. Alright, so now let's go find that very interesting and kind of very back and forth meaning that I had found for this particular song. And this is just one person's interpretation. It's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just an interpretation that I think is really interesting. Alright. Oh, and you know what? I'm in the wrong spot. I'm dumb. No. So the one thing that everyone is definitely agreeing on is that this is also definitely a song about Jesus. No, and I'm trying to find the very interesting one that I found. I'm actually kind of unsure as to where I found that now, because I'm having a hard time finding it. Discord is still going nuts. Well, I'm confused now. Where did I find that really interesting interpretation of the lyrics? Now I'm just upset. Because it was really cool and I wanted to present it to you guys, and now I can't find it and I'm getting mad. By the way, I'm aware that it's probably a little boring to just listen to me talk over a pause screen, but I swear that there was something really cool here. Like one of the like one of the comments that I'm finding here says that it's very possible that the song is from the perspective of Jesus and about his longing for his love of Jerusalem, or love for Jerusalem, to be reciprocated. A lot of people agree with the part about being caught in the wilderness and out in the desert. It seems to be a reference to Jesus' fasting for 40 days in the wilderness. I think that's kind of spot on. This person says that given Blind Guardian's penchant for Middle Ages and fantasy, and the heading out for the Jerusalem part, it could be about Richard Corleones or Richard the Lionhearted. Although the problem there is that he actually never made it to Jerusalem, so it's actually probably more along the lines of, I believe, after it was pointed out, he said, "Oh, you're right. It was probably Gerard von Rudervoort." Where is that really cool interpretation that I had found? How am I not finding it? I'm not going to keep you guys waiting forever while I keep looking for it either. Like that. That would be very rude of me. Even though I'm even though I'm like super excited to share that with you, I also don't want to keep you waiting forever for the rest of the run and my inevitably getting pounded into the dirt because I have a suboptimal basic and dash. But another interpretation is that precious Jerusalem is based on the final days of Jesus of Nazareth and his temptation in the desert. And again, that makes very good sense. Now I swear this is the site where I had found it, but maybe I'm just silly. Oh, here's a very interesting one. The part of the lyrics that says "Father, stop it now, we must stop it now." There is a particular that particular part seems to be interpreted to believe that, or at least the way the song was written, that Blind Guardian supposedly believes that it was Jesus' idea to save humanity, not necessarily the Father's. So again, something very interesting. Oh, here it is. So, before I go any further in the run, I want to read this to you because this is what I found. I finally found it, and this is what I found to be interesting. Then, according to, let's see, this was posted way back in May 5th of 2008, and it's on a site that's actually a Russian site, but it was translated into English, so things may be a little bit funny, but So here's this particular author's interpretation. The name Lucifer means bearer of light in Latin, and that is because he promised people light if they would follow him instead of Jesus or something very similar to that. He showed himself as good, as the true bearer of light, and tried to reason people into following him by promising them happiness, wealth, and light, and so on and so forth. See, now the way I see this song is like opposing arguments of Lucifer and Jesus, like a verbal fight between them, kind of like an epic rap battle. Making arguments to people to follow them, Lucifer, and see the light, Jesus. First, Jesus says how he discovered who he is and what is his destiny, and then says the crucial words, his philosophy, you can say. Words will heal it, love will conquer the hearts of the hopeless, the Almighty is still alive. Then, the fallen angel, Lucifer, replies, giving arguments against Jesus in heaven. This is kind of what I was pointing out earlier. I've gone beyond, but there's no life, and there is nothing how it seems. I've gone beyond, but there's no life, there is no healing rain in Eden. The empty, barren, wasted paradise, let's celebrate the dawning of the sun. Yeah, again, that seems very Lucifer-like. I mean, if I'm just looking at it from a very pragmatic point of view, I can't say that the dude doesn't have an argument. And then says, I turn to you, O my precious Jerusalem, deny your prophets their passion and treat them like fools. But Jesus replies, I turn to you, O my poor old Jerusalem, deny my love, but you can't change fate. And then the author goes on to say, notice how Lucifer addresses Jerusalem as precious, but Jesus calls it poor. Then Jesus says how he can't stand the pain and misery he sees around and calls his Father to help him stop it, calls to fulfill his destiny. But Lucifer replies how he thinks Jesus is not halfway up, but halfway down, talking against death, supporting the human fear against it, which goes in his favor to support. See, the wilderness part is Jesus talking about him being in the desert on those trials, which was, of course, against Lucy. See, then Lucy says, rise up and follow me, because I will bring the light. And again, reprising the leitmotif of Lucifer's arguments. And of course, that means, rise up and follow me, wake up and clear your mind. Which means, don't listen to Jesus, wealth and earthly joy is good, poverty and death is bad. Isn't that logical? To which, finally, Jesus replies to Lucifer, so if you say there's no faith in man, you better keep in mind that I can read between the lines. My heavy burden brings eyesight to the blind, which practically means that this sacrifice he will make will help the human race realize Lucy's lies and reject him. So that is pretty much the end of the song, as we've seen the song in and of itself repeats frequently at that point. Okay, I can actually continue the game now that I found that, and I'm happy that I did. Thank you for being patient with me through that. I know that was probably a little bit painful and cringeworthy, so I apologize. So I thought that was a really cool way of looking at the song, and I don't know if that's what Blind Guardian had intended, but again, it's just a really interesting way of looking at the song, and once again showing that there is no right or wrong interpretation for a song, so long as it's not like, you know, you're interpreting a song about candy to be about, you know, I'm having a hard time thinking of a good example, but, you know, put something ridiculous here, like, this song about cotton candy is really about the struggles of the Jews in the internment camps. It's like, what? Sir, I think you're full of it. No, but you see, the cotton candy is actually the ashes of the... Alright, shut up. But you get the idea that I'm trying to set forth. Sometimes a very literal interpretation of a song is more correct than people like to give credit for. Okay, admittedly, the water dragons are not great for this particular run. And again, not because they're a bad spell, but because they're more so focused on helping a critical hit run and strictly for coverage, which is kind of what I'm using them for. Now, as for Blind Guardian themselves, what do I think of this band? I think they're really good. I think, like, their older stuff isn't bad, don't get me wrong. Don't take what I'm saying as, oh, they never should have changed their sound, or they never should have started one way or another, but I actually got my start listening to the band when at A Night at the Opera. So it just kind of sticks with me that way. Like, that's what I think of when I think Blind Guardian, as I think of how they sounded when they were doing Night at the Opera. Oh, you stupid train! Alright, closing the window. Alright, so let's grab this. We're gonna give it to Dr. Song and see what she gives me. Plus, I could really use the healing. Elixir of Might. Okay, well now I kind of want to pick up this potion. Pick up Heroic Blaze, take that with me. Don't plan on using it. Alright, now we're feeling a little bit better. And hey, we're almost up to the point where we can use Idealist Vest again. Imagine that. So, continuing what I'm saying, I have no idea what they were... Or rather, I'm not going to say I have no idea, but... You know, what they were like when they were just strictly thrash power metal instead of kind of moving in that kind of more progressive direction that I know them for. I mean, again, every band has to have their start, and hey, if they were willing to, if they were basing themselves off Halloween, which is already not a bad start. But yeah, I'm very familiar with them as they are in, you know, Night at Middle Earth and the Nightfall at Middle Earth and Night at the Opera. That's the Blind Guardian I know. And yeah, I love their sound. And keep in mind, this is coming from someone who really has a soft spot for Nightwish, as that was the band that actually convinced my mom to start listening to my music. My mom being someone who grew up during the Motown era, so her music was funk and R&B, and I mean, at the time, as a kid, I was like, oh my god, I hate this music, but actually it's not bad music, and I was just being an angsty kid. But I will always be a metalhead. And the idea that I was able to convince my mom that there was merit to my music really stood out for me, and it just it just made me feel good all over that I could convince my mom with just plain old good music and talent that there is merit to what I'm listening to. I am not seeing good. I am not seeing good arcana. Or sorry, good relics here. I got plenty of good arcana. Hey. And this is also an example of this band is way older than I gave them credit for, because that was a great attack. Good job. God damn it. Have I mentioned that I don't like Crush Colossus very much? Alright, give me another health potion. Now I'm just trying to keep my health high for Elixir of Might. Excuse me, game, why would you not allow me to dodge? Alright, the game seems to be making it a point to make sure that my dodging doesn't work. Trust me, I'm not just standing there taking hits. Nice. Now, I didn't even know how old the band Blind Guardian was. Like, I was completely under the impression that they were maybe at most, I'll grab this, that they were maybe at most a few years old, but to know that they date all the way back to 1984 is crazy. And to hear about the huge influence that they had on music during their time, yeah, a lot of that coming from the album Nightfall in Middle-earth. So again, we're all on the same page here. And that's impressive. I just didn't know that. You gotta spend your money on something, right? There we go. It's a good first phase. Ah, damn it. save this, thankfully. Owie. And there we go. Another Wizard of Metal form emerges victorious. Though, to be fair, it looked kind of doubtful there a couple of times. But there you go. That is the history of Precious Jerusalem, or rather the lyrics, and a very interesting interpretation behind it. So hopefully you guys found that to be interesting and informative. And trust me when I say that there is a lot of history to Blind Guardian that I will be going over should Blind Guardian win another Wizard of Metal poll in the near future. Speaking of which, don't forget to check out this week's Wizard of Metal poll, as that will be determining the next form of the wizard come next week. Links to that and to my social media will be in the description below, and obviously, feel free to leave a comment. I'm always open to conversations, not only about the run, but also about the music, your possible interpretations of it. It's all very interesting to me, and I'm very happy to hear any of it. So again, thank you for tuning in and listening to me rant for a little while. Thank you for all the support you've given me thus far, and hopefully will continue to give me. And I am aware that you guys' free time is important, so thank you for spending some of it with me. And I will catch you guys next time. My name is Darksage Walker, and I will be seeing you.